Welcome, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Susan Welton, Oracle Marketing Manager at Perficient, and I'm excited to be moderating today's webinar, Oracle Essbase in the Cloud, a Mercer Advisors Success Story. Today's session will cover how Mercer Advisors improved financial reporting by implementing Essbase Cloud. The Chief Financial Officer for Mercer Advisors, Doug Maxwell, and Perficient's General Manager of the Oracle EPM practice, Santosh Nair, will discuss the challenges with the legacy environment as well as the Excel to Cloud migration approach and share some benefits realized. Now, two questions always come up with our online events. Can I get a copy of the slides after today's presentation, and can I get a link to the on-demand event? And the answer to both questions is yes. We will email you with that information on how to access both the slides and the recording following today's event. Time permitting, we do plan on having a Q&A session at the end of the event, so please type your questions into the chat box and feel free to do that at any time. We will not be addressing questions throughout the webinar, rather at the end during the Q&A session, but it's always easier to capture your thoughts right then and there in the moment and put them in the Q&A tab so that we don't miss your question. So without further delay, I'd like to introduce today's speakers. As Chief Financial Officer, Doug is responsible for promoting corporate viability, financial stability, and profit at Mercer Advisors. His areas of expertise include driving firm growth through acquisitions and holistic expansion, and enhancing bottom-line results using strategic financial controls and process improvement measures. Santosh is General Manager of our Oracle EPM practice at Perficient and is responsible for sales, strategy, and project delivery. With nearly 20 years of consulting experience in EPM, ERP, and BI, he has helped countless clients across a myriad of industries implement financial solutions to drive value with their technology investments. Santosh, I'd like to hand it over to you to cover the agenda. Thank you both, Doug and Santosh, in advance for joining us here today and presenting.
Thanks, Susan, and thanks to all that are joining the webinar today. I realize all of you have busy schedules and really appreciate your time and attention. A special thanks to Doug Maxwell for speaking today, and more importantly, allowing Perficient to take the opportunity to work with Mercer Advisors on this Oracle project. So in terms of agenda today, obviously just covered introductions for the speakers. We'll cover a little bit about who Perficient is in this ecosystem. Talk a little bit about Oracle Essbase on the cloud, and specifically Oracle Analytics Cloud, as it's called, part of the Oracle platform. And then I'll transition over to Doug to cover Mercer Advisor success story, really talking about current state of their environment, as well as some of the challenges they faced. Talk about the implementation project, including timeline, and then talk about some of the outcomes as well as success metrics. As Susan mentioned, we will save some time at the end for Q&A. So please make sure you chime in for the Q&A section of that. So a little bit about Perficient. Perficient is a leading digital transformation consulting firm serving the Global 2000 and enterprise customers throughout North America. We provide technology and management consulting along with creative consulting as part of our digital agency. We'll talk a little bit more about some of the specific areas we focus in as it relates to this webinar. So drilling down a little bit further about Perficient and our profile, we are a publicly traded firm trading on the NASDAQ under the ticker symbol PRFT. Last year we did about $473 million in revenue and have approximately 3,000 colleagues worldwide. We do have multiple technology partnerships at Perficient, but again focused today exclusively on our Oracle Platinum partnership. Our Oracle relationship spans about 17 years, and as the shift to cloud has come about, we are Oracle Platinum Cloud Select Partner with 15 distinct Oracle specializations. One of the key takeaways from this slide for us is our 95% repeat business rate. What that essentially means is that annually 95% of our revenue come from customers that we've already done work with in the past. And that's a good indicator that we're doing something right by our customers, and it's a very key metric for our executive team as they look at our annual business. So drilling down into our Oracle capabilities here at Perficient, again, we do a lot of different things, but focusing on the Oracle area here, we are a comprehensive Oracle partner with capabilities in the EPM space or enterprise performance management, and many of you guys may know that as the former Hyperion applications. Strong capabilities there. along with ERP and enterprise resource planning. And really, in this area, we focus on cloud ERP as well as the Oracle e-business suite of applications. Oracle BI, and there is some of that content that we're going to discuss today, Oracle Business Intelligence. And the Oracle Analytics Cloud portion includes some of those components, so look forward to sharing that with you guys. And then last but not least, we also cover Oracle Customer Experience. So as you can see here, across those 15 specializations, we do have several vertical focuses, including healthcare, supply chain, financial services, which Mercer Advisors falls into that financial services capabilities. And with over 3,000 deployments under our belt, we do consider ourselves the go-to partner as from an Oracle perspective in North America. Drilling down one level into the Oracle practice, EPM practice, which is the team that I've managed for the last 15 years. A lot of our Essbase capability over the last decade and a half have really kind of been under this practice and team. And so as we look to the significant shift to the cloud, there's a lot of different experience that we bring to the table from an Essbase perspective, but also some of the other adjacent EPM applications under the Oracle umbrella. From strategy engagements to chart of accounts redesigns to full lifecycle EPM or Hyperion implementations, education and training, and formalized post-implementation support, we do cover the full gamut of offerings in this area. From an education perspective, we are an authorized Oracle Education Center. What does that mean? We're joined at the hip with Oracle in terms of curriculum related to Oracle content. We cover the full Oracle University curriculum at our training center, or we can have our team deliver any of the Oracle training classes worldwide at your specific locations. Whether it's instructor-led training to full custom training on your specific applications to live virtual classes, we help your organization manage all aspects of training and change management throughout the implementation lifecycle. So just a quick poll from the audience or for the folks who are on this webinar. Which of the following Oracle Cloud offerings is your organization currently considering? So please take a moment, check which of the appropriate checkboxes apply to your organization, and we'll give it a few seconds for you guys to chime in here. And as we can see the results here, there's a lot of folks that are looking at Oracle Analytics Cloud, which is what we're going to be talking about today, especially the Essbase component of that. Looks like there are also quite a bit of you that are looking at the budgeting and forecasting applications from Oracle, and a few folks that are looking at the financial close. And then the good news is there's no one not considering Oracle Cloud. That's always good to see. And then a few folks that are not considering any sort of cloud applications at this time, and we definitely see that in the marketplace as well. So appreciate your feedback here on the polls. It's always a good way to kind of give us an indication of who's on the line and what some of the initiatives are within your respective organizations. So Oracle Analytics Cloud Overview. This is kind of a fancy term that really encompasses really kind of three core product areas within the Oracle Analytics ecosystem. One is that we're going to talk about today, which is the Oracle Essbase on the Cloud application. It also covers BI Cloud Service, or it's essentially the Oracle Business Intelligence application that's now available on the cloud, as well as data visualization, which is more of a visualization tool with data on it, obviously. So we'll talk a little bit about all these respective areas. So as we talk about cloud, there's a variety of different ways some of these cloud applications are available. There's what they call data as a service, software as a service, platform as a service, and infrastructure as a service. As we talk about Oracle Analytics Cloud today, it's offered by Oracle as a platform as a service under their business analytics applications. And so very similar to a cloud application in the cloud-based, software-based service applications, you are able to subscribe to this platform, which includes, as I mentioned, Essbase on the cloud. It includes BI Cloud Service, and it includes data visualization. There are a couple of different ways. You can license this product, and based on how you decide to license it, the functionality follows that licensing model. And I did get some notes that I was cutting out a little bit, but it sounds like it's better now, so it's good. So integration with BI Cloud and data visualization. For those of you who have used Essbase in the past, we know that SmartView is one of the most common ways to interface with Essbase, or even some of the old legacy folks who've used Essbase. The Excel add-in was the most common way to interact with Essbase. With the cloud application today, Oracle Analytics Cloud, you do have the ability to also integrate with Oracle BI Cloud as well as Data Visualization Cloud. Well, what does that mean? That means you could take the data that's available in Essbase and integrate it with other BI applications to have a single view of all of those sources, as well as take it one step further by having a visualization tool make it very graphic in nature to be able to analyze various data sources. So as a single offering under the Oracle Analytics Cloud application, you have both multidimensional capabilities with Essbase, you have operational capabilities with BI Cloud Service, and then a nice visualization tool with Data Viz on top of both of those types of sources. All offered, obviously, in the Oracle Cloud. So for those of you who've known and loved Essbase, well, of course, now it's available in the cloud. And if you look at kind of the history of Essbase over the years, a lot of different things, innovations have come about as a result of what they started many, many years ago. Initially, Essbase was Excel on steroids. It was the most common way to refer to it. And essentially, what that meant is everyone interacted with data in Essbase through a spreadsheet, but they had the reliance of a database engine, including security, powerful calculation engine, all of those other aspects, and had that single point of contact there. And that's kind of how Essbase started. As it progressed into the enterprise class, they've introduced a lot of different components, including a common foundation platform that really extended security, introduced the concept of aggregate storage, and it was a transition from what was called the Excel add-in, which was limited to just Microsoft Excel, to SmartView, which extended beyond just Excel, but also PowerPoint and Word and some of those other Microsoft Office tools. So really extending it across the entire Microsoft Office suite. And then under the ownership of Oracle, they took that innovation and extended it to in-memory hardware with the Exalytics platform. And what that provided was some increased performance because it was in memory, and really that's kind of the stepping stone into moving to the cloud. So as you look at Essbase applications in the cloud, or even other Oracle EPM applications on the cloud, whenever Essbase is a component of that, it's always sitting on in-memory hardware, lending it to be much more optimal for performance. So as you look at this timeline, from just a standard database that was interfacing with just Excel to where we are on the cloud today on in-memory hardware with the addition of aggregate storage and SmartView and some of the other enterprise class security, it's come a long, long way. So why cloud for Essbase? Well, as we kind of look at some of the benefits of cloud, one of the things we talk about is faster innovation. For those of you who've been on-premise applications, you know that some of the upgrades don't come out for 18 to 24 months, so 2 to 3 years even sometimes. And what that means is that you're not able to adopt new functionality without doing a formal upgrade. The formal upgrade, of course, takes several months. Could take some additional time if you have a lot of testing and a lot of applications. And what cloud does is it slowly gives you small incremental updates so that you can consume that without going through a rigorous upgrade cycle, getting new hardware and all those other aspects. So faster innovation means more time to value for each of you guys. Lower cost. Deferring some of the hardware costs, IT personnel, and things like that reduces your overall cost of maintaining an application like Essbase. And really allowing IT to focus on more strategic initiatives rather than patching servers or upgrading or swapping out hardware and things like that that are more tactical in nature. Again, really focus and allows them to focus on more strategic initiatives. Faster deployments. One of the things that we've seen as an implementation firm is as you look at cloud applications versus on-premise applications, cloud applications lend themselves to a quicker implementation time, where we see many implementations in weeks versus months and years. And part of that is in the framework that's provided in the cloud application to help accelerate those implementation life cycles. And then lower risk. a lot of the risk is on Oracle. Oracle absorbs all the responsibility and guarantee system availability as well as help you plan for a scalable future. Don't have to worry about buying new hardware or getting additional memory. All of that is part of Oracle's ownership, and they will help you grow with your application and infrastructure. So who will use Essbase on the cloud? Right, similar to on-premise deployments, and it could be a transition for customers who are already running Essbase on the cloud, Essbase on-premise. There is an approach and a path to move to the cloud. For customers like Mercer Advisors who are starting net new on Essbase, a cloud's a great way to start to help simplify cost, simplify infrastructure, and increase the amount of time to deploy these solutions. Cloud's a great avenue to help do that. And if you're going on the cloud, it doesn't mean that you have to only integrate with Oracle applications. You can integrate with Oracle applications like BI and data visualization. You can also integrate with Hyperion Planning or EPM Planning on the cloud, or any of the closed applications. Or you may want to integrate with a system like a non-Oracle system that's on the cloud, like Salesforce or Workday or any of those other solutions. You have the full ability to consume any of that data, whether it's on-premise, whether it's on cloud, whether it's Oracle or whether it's non-Oracle. So full capability of integrating with any of those sources as you use Essbase. And then obviously you still have the, we see especially in the finance community, we know everyone loves Excel, and Excel is still available whether it's on the cloud for users to be able to use the product called SmartStream to interact with the data that's in Essbase. So what are some of the features of Essbase on the cloud? Well, for those of you who've used their on-premise version of Essbase, all those features are pretty much there in terms of what you know and love. So both BSO or block storage applications as well as aggregate storage applications, calculation scripts and formulas and all of those good things that we've known and loved, those are all available in the cloud. The cloud also provides some additional features that are not available on the on-premise tool, including a brand new browser-based user interface that you use to manage your Essbase on the cloud application. Additionally, features like sandboxing and scenario management, those are features that are going to be only resident in the cloud version of the application. And things like design templates that they provide as part of the subscription, and also the ability to import and export Excel-based content to build your application. Oracle also does provide customers who are migrating from an on-premise instance of Essbase to the cloud. There is a migration utility to help with the process of migrating from on-premise to cloud. So one other quick poll question here before we hand it over to Doug to talk about Mercer. What are your top concerns about moving Essbase to the cloud? And there are multiple options here, so you can choose more than one option. So if you guys get a chance to look at that and see if there are some things that... So it looks like performance and scalability is a big concern, as well as data security. Lack of parity with what's on-premise versus what's on cloud is a fairly low level of concern. Time and effort. There's about a fourth of 25.9% of folks who are consider that as a concern. And then other concerns and not applicable kind of fall into the double-digit mark. But data security and performance and scalability seem to be the two big concerns about taking your Essbase applications from the on-premise world to the cloud. So I appreciate that feedback, and again, always good to kind of get a gauge of what people are thinking out in the audience, so appreciate it. And with that, I'm going to transition over to Doug to talk about Mercer Advisors and the success story with Essbase in the cloud. Doug?
Thank you, Santosh, and welcome everyone. It's great to be here with you today. To tell you a little bit about who we are at Mercer Advisors, we are a registered investment advisor. We serve clients who are high net worth and ultra high net worth clients, and we like to describe ourselves as being a family office for real families. So we take a view of holistic financial planning for people. So we do financial planning, investment management. We help them plan for their retirement with estate planning. We can serve as a corporate trustee and do tax planning and preparation. And so we really try to be a one-stop shop for people's financial needs. Our target client is kind of anywhere in the $1 million to $3 million of investable assets. We certainly have clients that are well north of that number as well. But we've been in the business for about 30 years. We have roughly 8,000 clients, and we manage about $11 billion of client assets across 24 offices. And our business model is one operating model. So as we've gone through, and I'll highlight this in a minute, and done acquisitions, we've migrated all of the acquisitions onto our platform and our systems so that we have one operating P&L that we can focus on as a business. So when we started to think about kind of some of the compelling events that would lead us to, take our financial reporting and put it into Essbase, there were several things that kind of drove us down that path. So one of the most significant ones was we acquired a company called Canaley Trust in 2016. They're located in Houston, Texas, a very large trust company with about $2 billion worth of assets. They had their own general ledger system that they were running on Solomon. We here in Santa Barbara at our corporate headquarters for Mercer were using Great Plains. And so one of the very first things we had to do in order to consolidate our reporting was to come up with a common chart of accounts. And then we had to map those chart of accounts together so that we can consolidate numbers for the two entities. And that was a very manual process that was done in Excel, and as you can imagine, was very cumbersome and fraught with potential errors because of the fact that we were doing all that in Excel. We basically, in order to consolidate, would take the trial balance that came from Canaley's system and at the end of the month add it manually to the trial balances that we had here in order to do the consolidations. So it wasn't just Canaley that was an issue for us as well. We also have been growing very rapidly organically, opening additional branch offices across the United States. And Canaley wasn't our only acquisition. We've been doing numerous acquisitions in the last 18 months. We did a total of 3 acquisitions in 2016, adding about $2.2 billion of AUM to our portfolio. And we've done 6 acquisitions thus far this year, adding just less than $1 billion. So very rapidly growing company. So what does all that mean to us in terms of challenges? So first of all, I mentioned the multiple general ledger systems. We had data sitting in a general ledger in Houston, a data sitting in a general ledger in Santa Barbara. Difficult to be able to aggregate all that information together into one spot. And so source mapping that into a single chart of accounts was kind of our first step. The second element that we had as a challenge was obviously manual processes. So think of it as closing 2 separate sets of books in 2 different locations and then having those financial results sent here so that we could then manually add all that into spreadsheets. Challenging aspect nonetheless to get a consolidated set of financial statements put together. And it gave us a picture of how we were performing in the aggregate, but it didn't give us the ability to do any real drill down. And that's where the ad hoc analysis issue came into play. Not having the visibility into the specific results for each individual department or cost center made ad hoc analysis at the end of the month really challenging, and we needed to develop a solution for that. Obviously, because this is a manual process, we do what most accountants do, and that's rely heavily on Excel. And as a result, you're always worried about errors as part of that process. So we were really forced to kind of look at a scalable solution because as we're growing rapidly, we're adding new offices across the United States. We continue to grow through acquisition. We really needed a system that was scalable and could support our growth over time. And part of what we were thinking about was not just a solution that would satisfy the needs today, but think about what would carry us forward in the next 4 to 5 years so that we didn't have to repeat this process again. So as we started to kind of investigate our options, I had used Essbase previously in an on-premise solution, but had never used Essbase in the cloud. To give you a little background around our timeline, we started looking at and thinking about what the best solution was for our company in the May timeframe. And we partnered with the folks from Oracle and were recommended several firms to look at as an implementation provider. And we went through a process of basically interviewing each of those groups. That took us through the end of June. And as you know, we were going through our process, we had some definitive standards that we wanted from our implementation partner. So for us, financial stability was an important part of it. And, obviously Perficient, being a public company, has a strong financial position and a lot of great resources to draw on. We also wanted a firm that we could grow with. We knew that, Oracle Essbase was probably just the first step of an eventual broader migration into business intelligence and other Oracle-based products. And so we wanted somebody that had depth and experience on their team to be able to grow as we grew as well. We also valued the ability of having an implementer that was there with us locally. So we sourced our entire implementation out of Houston, and it was great to be able to have Perficient staff just around the corner from our offices to be able to come on site and work with us side by side as we put this project together. And then the two other elements that were important to us is we wanted to have experienced FP&A users. So in our minds, it's important that an implementation provider have all the technical knowledge around how Oracle Essbase works in the cloud. But we didn't want just somebody who was a techie, if you will. It was really important to us that we had somebody that understood FP&A, understood how a balance sheet should balance, what a natural sign in the general ledger account meant, so that as we were going through this exercise, they would be able to help us through the implementation. And then finally, we wanted somebody that would actually act as a consultant, and that was important to us as well. We had specific thoughts and ideas about how we wanted to approach the project, but I really look at it as a consultant, as somebody that would look and turn to us and say, hey, here's where you're on the right track. Here's where you may want to think about this differently. Here's what we've seen as best practice and why we would recommend that you take this particular path. And Perficient has been all of those things for us throughout the source of this project. So after commencing the project with Perficient in the August to September timeframe, one of the first things we did was to sit down and kind of diagram out the various dimensions in which we wanted to look at our business. And this is an important characteristic that you should consider as you're thinking about a tool like Hyperion Essbase, is to be able to say, what dimensions do we want to look at this business in? We, for example, at times want to look at things on a consolidated basis, but more often than not, we want to look at, for example, what were revenues in our 3 geographies, East, West, and Central. Or what was the revenue for a particular branch location, or what was the revenue for a particular advisor. And so to think about all of those various dimensions in which you want to report information and how the organization is going to use that information is really kind of key in the designing of dimensions and putting together the initial kind of hierarchy, if you will. So we spent October, September working on that. We had to fight through the challenge of a hurricane in Houston, which our team was really great about working through. In October, we did a lot of the reconciliation of the data. So after you build the cube and the hierarchy, the more tedious aspect is really making sure that you load all the information into the right buckets, and that everything that is in the system actually reconciles to your financial statements. And I kind of equate this step to taking your data and putting it into a file cabinet. You want to make sure you put it in the right place and that you've organized the file cabinet correctly so that when you go to retrieve data and information, you're reaching into the right place and it's exactly in the system the way that you want it to be. And so we're now into the kind of final stages of our implementation, which is the validation and the user acceptance testing. We're currently today have the ability to pull information and use it in our day-to-day reporting. So once we finish off these last steps, we'll be fully functional and fully live. So when you think about the various scope areas of the project, the cube design, which I talked about earlier, is really kind of the first stage of this. Coming up with a standard chart of accounts for us, thinking about the dimensions that we wanted to be able to pull data from the database from and what we wanted to see. So for example, for us, it was important not only to be able to look at historical actuals for prior periods, but also be able to look at information, that actual information in comparison to budget, and then also be able to have a rolling forecast for future periods. And so the tool gives us the functionality to be able to capture all those dimensions and see those specific pieces. In addition to just pure financial data, though, we also wanted to be able to use Essbase for what we would call metrics. So, for example, our headcount numbers would come from the source system, which would be our payroll system. But rather than having to go reach into the payroll system for that information, I'd rather have it there in Essbase so that at a click of a mouse, I could know how many advisors are working in our branch in Bellevue, Washington, for example. And that's one of the powers of Essbase, is it's not just purely a financial reporting tool, but it also can be used to capture and store various business metrics. From a reporting standpoint, obviously accounting people are very well versed with Excel, so it's very user-friendly in terms of what you're used to working with. A click of a button here, a change of the point of view or change of a dimension allows you to instantaneously go from and drill down in your financials from a consolidated level to a particular branch to a particular location. And because we have offices in 24 different locations across the United States, having access to this data through the cloud was really important to me. I travel quite a bit, and while you can go through the rigmarole of a VPN network and connecting in that way, it's much easier for me just to be able to pull up my computer, open a browser, and go directly into the cloud, and I can work from anywhere and have the data at my fingertips. And then the final kind of piece of this is the administration component. And don't let this piece scare you. I'm an accountant by trade. I know enough IT to be dangerous, but the administration of the Essbase Cloud is really pretty simple, and the team does a great job of educating us on how we load files, how we change from period to period, and all of that's kind of spelled out in the user guide and the administration guide that's put together as part of this process. So we wanted to shoot for several outcomes in this to kind of lead to success. So the first for us was just having a single source of the truth. So rather than having trial balance information in two different cities, having to manually put that together, now that we've done the data loads and the validation, we have a single source of truth for our financial reporting, and that is the Essbase tool itself. We also have the ability to see the multiple dimensions, the actual budget and the forecast. And because it is an Excel-based tool, it's easy to be able to change the dimensions that we're looking at, click a button, and then fire off schedules to people throughout the organization so that they can see what their financial performance looks like for their individual regions or departments. I mentioned the cloud base and just the ability to use that. It's a much better solution, in our opinion, than having an on-premise solution. We're not tied to constraints within an IT department, for example. In some of my past history, if you were to use an on-premise solution, you first of all needed to sit down with your IT committee and source your project versus all the other IT projects. So you had to compete for IT resources just to get the software installed on your server. And then you had to compete for rack space on the server, and you may have to buy more storage. None of that is part of this process. With the cloud, the cloud's there all the time. It's up and running 24/7. You don't need an IT professional to help you get set up there. And so it's a much, much better solution. And then, at the end of the day, those two components really lead to, the overall project success. It's very easy to use. It's been great for us because it is, in my opinion, changed the structure of production for how we work. And when I talk about the structure of production, what I mean by that is the hours and hours that we used to spend putting together manual spreadsheets in Excel, verifying that the information was correct, tying it all out. Now that time has been replaced with the ability to do more analytics and click down and drive down into our financials so that we have a deeper understanding of financial performance, and we can communicate that information to people in the organization to drive profitability and growth. So with that, I will turn it back over to our moderator who will lead us through a question and answer session.
Thank you, Doug. I really want to thank you for your time that you spent articulating and sharing your story with everybody on the call today. That was great. Now, as Doug mentioned, we're going to start the Q&A session of today's event. You should see a tab in the lower left-hand corner of your screen. This is where you actually type your questions in for either Doug or Santosh. And we also have a couple other EPM experts on the team that are also available to answer your questions today. So we're going to go ahead and get started with some that have come in, but please take the time to go ahead and do that now. And I'm going to hand this over to Santosh, who's graciously offered to moderate Q&A for us. So Santosh, take it away.
Thanks, Susan. And so just taking a few of the questions that are coming in. First one says, can you discuss some of the considerations to migrate an Oracle on-premise application to the cloud? I'm going to refer that to Charles, if you're on the line, if you can help kind of address some of the considerations that a client may consider before migrating an on-premise application to the cloud.
Sure. So migrating from on-prem to the cloud, Oracle provides a utility to help with that process of taking your applications and then converting them over to Essbase applications in the cloud. Some other considerations that might be part of that are the data integrations themselves. So, designing the processes to then, instead of pushing data into your on-prem applications through the cloud, using the tools that Oracle provides, like the command line interface, to automate some of those processes. But the short of it is that there's a utility to do the bulk of the work of migrating from on-prem to the cloud.
Okay. Thanks, Charles. I got another question. An audience member submitted a comment, was under the impression that this webinar would showcase Essbase functionality or doing a demo. We didn't have a demo planned as part of this webinar. It was more about the just kind of the customer success story. But if you don't mind sending an email, we'd be happy to schedule a one-off kind of demonstration of Essbase functionality directly. So again, just please send us a note, and we'd be happy to showcase that offline. Another question coming in, did you use SmartView to input data into Essbase Cloud? And if so, for users to enter comments or a description of why they entered the value they did you use LROs to do so, or is there a way to pass text to another way? So Charles, I'm not sure if the question one more time is just making sure if users were able to enter comments or a description of why they entered the value they used.
No. This was financials in Essbase, kind of similar to your on-prem. So no comments were entered in as part of the process. It's more of reporting analysis of your financials in metrics.
Not data submission, but reporting off data that's already into the application.
That is correct, yes.
Okay. And so there was a comment about our biggest concern is data security, especially financials. And this is a common concern, that we see with many customers, not just financials, but HR-related data. And as we see in the industry across all of these areas, including many healthcare customers who consider data security to be a key component of moving applications to the cloud. Oracle does have all the highest standards and certifications across cloud-based security, so I highly encourage you to inquire some of the security standards your organization has and make sure they're in line with the certifications Oracle has for its appropriate cloud-based applications. But absolutely understand that concern, and I think Oracle's taken a really good and strong stance on that scenario. Another email as well, can we see what the interface looks like? Don't have that scheduled for this, but please shoot us a note. We'd be happy to schedule a quick 15 minutes or 30-minute walkthrough of the Essbase, not only the interface you use to administer, but as well as the interaction with SmartView across an Essbase application as well. So be happy to do that. Are the analytics data visualization tools discussed only available for Essbase in the cloud? Is that not included in the planning on the cloud? So good question. It is not included on planning in the cloud. This is part of the Oracle Analytics Cloud application as part of the technology stack. So you don't get that with PBCS or ePBCS, only with Oracle Analytics Cloud as the solution. Did your management have concerns with putting financial data in the cloud? And we did already address that. Doug, I don't know if you had concerns about that regarding concerns about putting financial-related data in the cloud, if you want to just touch on that.
No, we didn't have any concerns either. And again, relying upon the strength of Oracle was kind of one of our keys. But we use all of our solutions across our tech stack, not just the financial accounting solutions, but the solutions that we use for our CRM, the solution we use for payroll. Everything that we do today is all in the cloud. And I think the technology around security has gotten better and better as time has gone on. And so we felt very comfortable when we've been a cloud-based solution for probably, golly, at least the last 10 years in all of our tech stack.
Okay, great. And then there was another question about what products come with Oracle Analytics Cloud. And really, there's really two ways to license Oracle Analytics Cloud. There's a standard edition and there's an enterprise edition. And the standard includes data visualization, it includes Essbase, and it includes SmartView. When you leverage the enterprise version, it includes everything that's in standard, but you also get the BI Cloud Service, or BICS is the acronym, along with Oracle Day by Day. And both of those features come with the enterprise edition. So the data visualization, SmartView, and Essbase is part of the standard edition, and enterprise takes all of that that's included in standard and adds BI Cloud Service as well as Oracle Day by Day.
I think, Santosh, I think that's a great point that you made about those two as well. Part of our solution when we were evaluating standard versus the enterprise solution was what do we need today and what could we grow into. And so for us, standard edition was exactly what we needed to kind of take care of the core, the size of the business that we are today. But we selected that with the idea that at some point in time we would want the higher end BI suite as well. So that's one of the things that I think is really great about the solution is you can scale into it and graduate into the higher end products as your organization continues to grow.
No, great point, Doug. Thanks for that clarification. Yeah, it's a good point. And then another quick two-part question here, and Charles, I could probably rely on you for this. How do you update dimensions or new GL account or members? How will you keep Essbase application in sync with the general ledger? Do you have an automated process? And then second question really is how is security managed?
Sure. So let's start with the dimensions. So there's two ways. One is through the UI, the user interface, going in through that web piece and managing your metadata through the tool itself. You can also create some automated process using the CLI or the command line interface, similar to using your load rule to build out your dimensions. As far as security, using your filters to access the data, using the group access through the cloud interface or the cloud tool itself. So again, very similar to on-prem.
Thanks, Charles. So yeah, again, a couple different ways to manage the dimensionality, and then very similar from a security perspective. And then the nice thing there too is if you're a customer who's leveraging on-premise application, the transition to cloud is fairly seamless. All the terminology and all the knowledge and training you've received on-premise easily translates to what's available in the cloud. And that's beyond just the Essbase piece as well. If you're even using some of the other adjacent Oracle EPM applications, that knowledge and experience you have leveraging the on-premise application easily translates to what's available in the cloud. So, any other questions? I think we were able to go through all the questions that were at least through the chat window. We have a few more minutes here if you want to ask some more questions. Otherwise, we'll provide you a couple minutes back so you can take advantage of that additional time.
So Santosh, just in case we have more questions that come in, people by all means go ahead and feel free to enter your questions still into the Q&A tab. But to be respectful of everyone's time, I will go ahead and just take this time to remind everyone to follow us online. We really have some amazing, well-written, excellent content that's out there on the Oracle blog. If you've never had an opportunity to look at the Perficient Oracle blog, I really highly recommend that you check it out. There's a wealth of information that you can find out there on a variety of topics. And it's also a place where you can get connected and find some of our past webinars that we've had that you might find of interest, Q&A for other past events. So again, it's a really good resource. Next up, as far as what we have scheduled, is we are going to be at the Modern Supply Chain Experience show that is going to be in San Jose the 29th through the 31st of January. So if that's an area of interest for you or anyone in your company who might be going to Modern Supply Chain Experience, please reach out and let us know. I also did want to make a note and remind you that Santosh had graciously offered to spend 15 minutes or arrange to spend 15 minutes or half an hour with you to give you a demo of the product. So if you actually wanted to see Essbase in the cloud, what it looks like, and take a look at how it interacts with SmartView, certainly we're more than open to doing that. And I know, Jacob, you had expressed interest, and Christian as well, so I did make a note of that. But if anybody else is interested in that, let us know. Otherwise, at this point in time, I would like to thank today's presenters. Santosh, thank you so much for your time today. And by all means, Doug, it certainly is so beneficial for our customers on the call today to hear from an existing customer who has made this decision to implement Essbase in the cloud. And it's just so valuable that you have shared your experience and your story with everyone, so it's greatly appreciated. So to all of my presenters today, thank you. And to Charles on the back end there answering some of our technical questions, thank you for that as well. With that, I'm going to close today's event, and thank you. We'll see you online in the future.